action here in the hands of Pieter Tubergen against Gabriel Barrett against playing humans, excuse me. This will be a great test. Obviously, humans considered to be the top deck in the format, or at least certainly one of them. Hardened Scales Affinity generally does pretty well in this matchup, and we're going to find out right now how things do go, as this is a Godless Shrine.
This is a bigger build of humans with Collected Company.
Okay, got it. And so now Gabriel, down to 18, plays a Champion of the Parish for Pieter Tubergen, a Darksteel Citadel, and a Mox Opal. The follow-up is Champion of the Parish here for Gabriel. That's why you don't see things like Ancient Ziggurat as much here, looking to resolve Collected Company. Here's an attack for 2. Looks like Gabriel doesn't have much past that, and this is going to be bad news for him if Pieter does have something resembling a functional draw. This Hardened Scales Affinity deck, it really starts on kind of the second turn of the game. It does have some Mox Opal draws, but for the most part, this deck would like to play a 2-drop on 2, like a Steel Overseer, maybe a Ravager, maybe a Hangerback Walker, and then start to work towards its Walking Ballistas, which is probably the best card in this deck. That is an Arcbound Ravager there for Pieter Tubergen, a card that he's very familiar with.
And the Hardened Scales build a little bit less explosive on turns 1 through 3. You rarely have the, and here's my whole hand type of draws. But you have a little bit more staying power, and the synergies, the presence on the battlefield, those are the upsides.
Now Pieter's getting it rolling. You saw him play an Arcbound Ravager, then he floated a mana off the Mox Opal, ate the Mox Opal, then he played a Hangerback Walker for 1. Gabriel has no second land. Those Champion of the Parishes are a 2-2 and a 1-1. And now here is a card that might be bannable in Modern, some may argue there, in Ancient Stirrings.
It would be my number 1. If I had to ban a card, I don't even think it's close. The distant second is the card that Tubergen used to cast the Ancient Stirrings.
Well, those two are quite the tag team, our Mox Opal and Ancient Stirrings, and they're at it again. Now that is an animation module, which is a one-of here. We are going to take a look at animation module. I only know that because I've had to edit these videos and the article from Ari. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known what that was. And I actually don't remember exactly what it does. It's a weird card that can make some servos. Normally you see it in the sideboard. But here's the 1-mana artifact from Kaladesh. Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are placed on a permanent you control, you may pay 1. If you do, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. I'll be curious to see if we have servos down there, or if we're going to have to let Nick Miller go. 3 tap, choose a counter on target permanent or player. Give that permanent or player another counter of that kind. So kind of a weird proliferate.
This is a mess, this design. Wow. What do you mean that there's a counter on me? What do you mean by that?
I've gifted you a counter. Here, you can have one.
Like a counter on a card, that makes sense. So there's a Champion of the Parish and an Arcbound Ravager and a Hangerback Walker on the battlefield. We know what that means. A counter on a player. What do you mean? Like physically on me?
Just right on you. I gave you an infect counter.
It's just infect 3 and you just throw 3 dice at me?
Yeah. Ravager's going to come across for 2.
Like really, that card, you need the infect synergies that bad that you're gonna have the card say counters on players. Come on,
it's got to work.
Have some discipline.
There's got to be other counters too, probably that players can have, right? I mean, not that
there's probably some random one-off designs, but in terms of a mechanic that does it, I can't think of one besides infect.
Twitter. They probably know. Wow, we do have servos. That's exciting. Gabriel has his hands folded, and he's just going to get punched in the face.
We're in garbage time.
Yeah,
that's why. And part of the reason we're talking about whether or not animation modules should be allowed to target counters on players.
There are definitely other counters on players. I want to know what they are now. I know there are some. Ooh, Throne of Geth. Now we're having fun. Throne of Geth is a 2-mana artifact. You sacrifice an artifact and proliferate. So, goodbye, Mox Opal. Counters. And now, if those got counters, that means animation module can make more artifacts, more servos here for Pieter. And that means more fuel for the Ravager. So just a little one-of here, as there's another Mox Opal.
Please start attacking.
Oh, he will.
It's safe.
Yeah. Well, there are no good blocks to be had.
Yeah. He's got no spells in his deck.
Hey, you don't know. He's a different build of humans. He could play Path. He could.
I think you might have seen it by now.
That's true. That's true. Make another servo. And these servos, of course, are great fuel for the Ravager, as if the Ravager is short of things to eat. Also, Garrett might die now because Pieter is counting. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
He may not want to risk it.
He could actually kill him this turn.
Yeah, but I think he's just, why not? Why risk anything?
Yeah. Unclaimed territory. Everything has changed. Naming human.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that's interesting about this Hardened Scales Affinity deck, and we don't get to see it as much this game, perhaps we'll see it in the next one, or future rounds if we get to watch Pieter more. This deck it can kill you out of nowhere. And if you have not played against the deck very much, then you don't know that, as there's Athalia's Lieutenant going to put a bunch of counters here. But it can kill you out of nowhere with Throne of Geth, with the amount of damage that it can deal, and everything that it can do. Here's another Ravager. And looks like we'll get another servo here in just a moment, and we will. Because it is not hard to say, yeah, I'm going to attack with all of this stuff. There's
just move the Ravagers to whatever.
He can do like kind of the old school, modular kill now.
Yeah, the second Arcbound Ravager is now insurance in case there's a random main deck gut shot. He actually has everything covered now.
Yeah, that's fair. But what if there's 2 main deck gut shots?
Well, then Garrett's take goes to 5, and you still have some,
What about 2 of them though? It's time to munch on some artifacts. And Pieter's saying, I'm gonna kill you in just a minute, I promise. Pieter's someone who's played a lot of Affinity, as he's going to eat some servos here. And you'll see he'll be pretty careful with the Ravager management, I think, in this situation. He could also just say, look, I'll just run over your Champion of the Parishes and leave you with no real way to win. But there's 5 counters. So 6, 7, 8. It looks like maybe he's short 1?
He still has another Ravager.
Well, I figured he'd want to leave a Ravager behind. But I guess now he can just dump onto another one and be totally fine. So there you go. And if Gutshot were to be cast, it would still be lethal.
Yeah.
So there you go. Pieter Tubergen going to win game number 1 here over Gabriel Barrett. Hardened Scales Affinity might be your new Affinity deck there, Artifact Creature fans. Up a game very easily there over Humans. As we turn our attention to the sideboard, we will start with Gabriel Barrett. 2 Dampening Spheres, 2 Path to Exile, 2 Reclamation Sage, 2 Sin Collector, 2 Spell Queller, 2 Stony Silence. You don't get to play that often in normal Humans. 2 Orzhov Pontiff, and a Rest in Peace.
Nice sideboard here. Well, a lot of upgrades here. Orzhov Pontiff, Stony Silence, Reclamation Sage, and Path to Exile, all good interaction, good 2-for-1s.
Stony Silence actually the real deal. Well, it's obviously the real deal in Artifact matchups. Humans normally can't play it because of their mana base. Gabriel, because he's playing Collected Company, and cards like Godless Shrine and Sacred Foundry, he can.
Just regular lands.
Yeah. For Tubergen, 3 Damping Spheres, 3 Nature's Claim, 2 Surgical Extraction, 2 Natural State, 2 Dismember, another copy of Animation Module, an Evolutionary Leap, and a Shaper Sanctuary.
The 2 Dismembers I like. It's possible if he thinks the matchup is grindy enough that he could bring in the Evolutionary Leap and try to kind of combo and grind out that way. It would not be my route in this matchup. Humans just doesn't have that much removal, and their fast draws could be too explosive, too fast for Evolutionary Leap. So I would probably only bring in Dismember here.
Don't think that Pieter is a sideboard much, and I think I agree with you there, partner, that not a ton is going to change, but we will find out soon enough as these players do get ready here for game number 2. Let's take a moment, however, to talk about Star City Games Game Night, the very popular promotion. We're in the month of August. We're bringing you a cat and a rat. You start, partner.
Well, head over to go.starcitygames.com/game night, find out more information about Game Night. Every month we send out kits with new pins and tokens that we send to the stores that are signed up. Stores can then run their game night however they want to and distribute their pins and tokens to their players. We have the August kit right now. It's the pins we're wearing during the show. Order the First Cheese, and then a couple more pins I don't know if I've seen yet. September, Garden Tendencies. Okay, and then Heads of the Class. Is it, help me out here.
What's the problem?
I don't know if I get the reference.
It's just a
Like-
tiger. It's just a tiger doing some
like
stuff.
animals, animals have heads. Is that like the name of a group of a particular type of animal?
I don't think so. They're just in school, and they're in charge.
Go.StarCityGames.com
There it
/game
is.
night. Find the game night closest to you in stores if you want to get signed up for game night. Contact your Star City Games in-store play representative.
Perfect. There we go. There's the hard sell in the program. Pieter Tubergen, a player we can learn a little bit more about right now. An affinity aficionado is Pieter Tubergen. We used to see him rock out with just kind of your normal streamlined affinity deck with, of course, Ravager and cranial plating and all that stuff. And it is crazy to think that an affinity deck can exist without cranial plating, one of the best cards in the deck. But Tubergen, the 26-year-old member of the Bearded Dragon team, is doing just fine without it thus far. 3 open top 8s, looking for a 4th one here this week. And he's got that open win as well. Got 2 awesome rescue cats named Mox and Meme. I think that's how the kids pronounce that, right? It's probably Meme and not
You would
Meme.
know more than me.
Yeah, I had a feeling you might say that. Plays competitive Overwatch as a relaxing, less serious competitive outlet. Wears his Pepsi hat when he plays Magic. It's a family heirloom from his grandfather.
So it was pointed out via Twitter that energy counters go on players.
Ha!
It appears in the same block as the
As
module.
animation module, yeah, that makes sense.
That's fine. That's fine. Still a little hokey, but that's okay.
Experience counters. That's what I was trying to figure out.
What is that?
I don't know, but I knew that was a thing.
Experience counters?
Yeah, you can get experience counters from something.
I've never heard of that.
I couldn't remember what makes an experience counter. Someone tell me. I completely forgot about energy. I'm just a doofus.
Yeah.
But experience.
Just blocked it out.
Yeah. It's such a heinous mechanic. I can't wait. I can't wait for it to come back.
The mechanic, it's not even. That one's complicated. It's not. There's not even that much of a mechanic there necessarily. There's a resource that you can spend. That's a thing all over the place. It's really insular and parasitic, and that's a strike. And then, but I think that the execution of the individual cards was the blow there, not necessarily the mechanic.
I like the idea, but yeah, the execution not great.
Having just like a sea of 0 mana instance at any time your opponent can be doing 3 or 4 different things, you get to play around everything. That's what's bad.
Yeah. One of these cards is better than the other, and oddly enough, I don't know which one. Champion of the Parish squaring off against Arcbound Worker right now. Both very important pieces to each deck as, oh, the fun police is here. Stony Silence on turn number 2 here from Gabriel Barrett. Is Pieter Tubergen prepared? You saw in game 1, Pieter did see Godless Shrine.
Yep. And it's possible that, if he could have brought in some amount of the Nature Claim stuff, if he's like, well, he's got Vial, and he might have some other things, we'll see.
Reflecting Pool in combination with Unclaimed Territory means that Gabriel Barrett has access to all the colors of the rainbow. This is a Steel Overseer. Get in there, Arcbound Worker. Teach him a lesson. Gabriel Barrett down to 19. We'll head back over to Barrett now, who's got a Champion of the Parish, who has a Stony Silence and is looking to further along his battlefield.
Once again, 11 a.m. standard challenge players. Their next round pairings have been posted.
This is Athalia's Lieutenant. We'll have some triggers here. Most importantly, that Champion of the Parish will grow into a 3-3, which means it's a good attacker, and it will be attacking. Pieter Tubergen going to fall down to 17. Breeding Pool will enter the battlefield tapped, and we'll head back over to Pieter. His deck cannot get started until that Stony Silence is off the battlefield. If he can kill it, things certainly do change. If not, this will be a runaway here for Gabriel Barrett. Well, that's an Ancient Stirring. It's not the green card that Tubergen was looking for. Pieter will take a look at the top 5 cards here, and we'll see exactly what card he wants to take.
I suspected this might be the case, but I wanted to double check. Because this is a bigger build and it's playing with Collector Company, guess what? No Vials in this build of humans either.
Ah, okay, okay. Oh, here we go. Some random commander card gives experience counters. Of course it does. Marin of Clan Neltolf. Probably pronounced that wrong. Sorry, Commander fans. I just learned so much.
So an experience counter has no rules associated with it. It's just a number attached to you, and then other things can reference it.
That's what it sounds like.
Cool.
You can get more of those. Here's a Walking Ballista. You can see what
So not a mechanic.
you can see what Tubergen We'll be sure to put that.
It's a widget that you can dial, and then if other things care about widgets, then
That's the thing.
then the number matters. Okay.
Tubergen, had that Stony Silence not been there, he'd have a heck of a
Oh
draw.
yeah. Maybe.
He'd be doing his thing here. Reflector Mage is going to take care of Arcbound Worker, things I didn't think I'd be saying today. Here's an attack here for 3, 4, 5, 6 points of damage. Tubergen, I believe, is going to fall down to 11. And there's a Windswept Teeth. We're going to head back over to Pieter. We need an Atrus claim, my friend.
Welding jar off the top.
Not quite. Not quite what the doctor ordered. Oddly, this deck plays a lot of copies of Welding Jar. 3.
What is that?
Oh, Phyrexian Core?
Oh, okay.
Phyrexian Core?
Yeah. Okay. Excuse me.
Come on. If memory serves, tap for a colorless, 2 tap, sack an artifact, gain a life. We'll go to the tape on Phyrexia's Core. I gotta remember what set that's from, though. That's a Mirrodin block card, almost assuredly. Ooh, maybe not. Maybe not. Actually, probably new Phyrexia. I'm excited to find out now. God, the shrine gonna be searched up.
Yeah, it looks like it has the water. Yep, the watermark. There it is.
Look at that. That's only 1 tap, sack an artifact, you gain a life. Okay, not bad. Flavor text from your old boy Koth.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be one of your top 10 red cards of all time. You and Koth did a lot of damage.
We had a good relationship. Although eventually over that standard season, I ended up cutting the Koths.
Really?
Gains were over too fast. Splinter Twin became a thing, and you couldn't just tap out for a Koth.
Yeah, because then you just die.
So I just played with Shrine of Burning Rage instead.
Ah, nice.
Just busted.
I didn't know you cut that.
Yeah, my invitational top 8 was no Koths in that senior format.
Jeez.
Furnace Scamp. The Scamp.
Just one in a long line of horrible cards you've won with.
Furnace Scamp is not bad.
That card sucks. Stop. That's 1 mana, 1/1. On your upkeep, you can sack it to deal 3.
Yes.
Yeah, that's.
Well, you can. You don't have to.
I know
So
you don't have to.
It is. That's probably the tournament where I got the most near slow play warnings. Is going in the tank on my upkeep of. Am I gonna squeeze one more point out of this thing, or do I need to just get my money now?
You also can't afford to be wrong about that.
No,
you
you
that,
can't.
Right? You don't have a lot of leeway.
No, if you mess up that decision on either direction,
Bang!
Yeah.
We'll put this on your weekly sale too.
Mm-hmm.
Non-foil copies.
This card was not bad.
Look at that thing. What's that even a picture of?
A beast?
Yeah,
it claims
to be a beast. It's a 1/1.
It's got like the metallic Phyrexia watermark sort of thing. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Anywho, this card is not bad. This card is not bad.
This isn't the worst red card you've played.
Immolating Soul Eater.
That's number 1.
No, that's not the worst one I've played, but that was also something I experimented with in the same standard format. That was not good.
Okay.
It was my way to try to be timely reinforcements.
Yeah, I remember that. Just dealing yourself a lot.
Just like I'll go to 2,
yeah.
and you go to 6, and then I could burn you out over 2 turns, and your timely reinforcements never works.
Very nice. Very, very nice. For Pieter Tubergen, who is still struggling here for real, he's got an Arcbound Worker, a Walking Ballista, Steel Overseer, and a Hangerback Walker with 2 counters. Inkmoth Nexus currently tapped. Blinkmoth Nexus untapped. DeForest of Phyrexia's Core. And a Darksteel Citadel for Gabriel Barrett, as he'll be sacrificing a Flooded Strand here to dig a land out of his deck. Kessig Malcontents dealt some damage last turn. Reflector Mage bounced that Worker a couple turns ago. Then you've got Thaya's Lieutenant and Champion of the Parish on the battlefield here. Life total 16 for Gabriel Barrett, 2 for Pieter Tubergen. Oh, right. Gabriel has the Stony Silence. That'll give you an update on exactly what's going on here, as we had to take a moment to really show our love to the Scamp.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's still Yamabushi's Flame.
That is maybe the worst one
I
I've played.
think that's so. Like Boros Guildmage was bad, but Yamabushi 3 mana deal 3, and maybe the other text mattered sometimes.
Very rarely.
But, whew, at some point you just got to go like, I can't play red. Well, I mean maybe you don't, but
I won that.
I know.
I grinded in the Pro Tour with that deck.
I know you did.
defeating Paul Cheon for the slot.
Here's a Mantis Rider. Humans are going to grow. Mantis Rider will give Gabriel Barrett a little ammo in the air. Just the fact that that means you won like 9 matches with that deck.
I went 8-0-1 or something.
Yeah, that is unbelievable.
It's a total shellacking.
Just a very. Was that when you were calling it Rainmaker Red? I think that was that tournament.
Maybe. Maybe.
Here come all the knuckleheads. If Pieter Tubergen has an Nature's Claim to kill the Stony Silence, this could go very poorly here for Gabriel Barrett.
Yeah, but that's the case. No, I mean, if he says go and he gets Nature's Claim, he loses all. He also loses that way. So who cares? Let's get it over with.
Tubergen with that family heirloom Pepsi hat is deep in the tank. Not sure there's a way out of this one, though. But he's going to give it a long thought about what he can do to stay alive. I assume there is at least one Nature's Claim in his deck after sideboard. You have to think, okay, I'm playing against humans. They probably have Vial. There's some equity there. And then I saw Goblet Shrine, so maybe he's playing Collected Company, which means that he has, my opponent, of course, Gabriel Barrett, has more mana than usual to be able to cast something like a Stony Silence. So if Peter's still playing this game out, I'm led to believe that he's boarded in some number of Nature's Claims, and he's trying to draw one.
Well, there's also the question of, do you sacrifice your Hangerback Walker before blocks to get the extra chump blocker, or do you try to keep something around to chump block with next turn? Looks like he's just going up 3 here, and I'm guessing we'll just block clean across the table.
That's what it looks like. He's going to sacrifice Hangerback Walker to Phyrexia's Core. He'll gain a life for doing so, and then 2 Thopter tokens on the way, and now he'll have to decide exactly how he wants to block. And as Patrick mentioned, perhaps he's just going to be blocking across the battlefield here. You've got a Thopter on a Mantis Rider, a Thopter on a Kessig Malcontent. Looks like a Steel Overseer is going to jump in front of that 4/4 Thalia's Lieutenant. But Peter's going to do a little bit of thinking and rearranging before committing to anything entirely, as it looks like Walking Ballista is going to jump in front of the Champion of the Parish. Reflector Mage is going to come across. Tubergen's going to take 2, fall down to 1. And Barrett is going to end up losing just a Kessig Malcontent in the exchange. And for Tubergen, he is very behind on the battlefield, though his Thopter token is now a 2/2. Peter will draw, and now he will concede. So Gabriel Barrett's going to win game number 2 here over Pieter Tubergen, based off of the power of Stony Silence's humans, but not your traditional build, ties things up here against Hardened Scales Affinity.
Go get some Nature's Claims or some other disenchant.
Yeah.
Tubergen quickly going back to the sideboard.
I think that's probably wise there for Peter, given how he's seen Stony Silence. For Gabriel, it was a very, very easy game. Don't think ton changes here for Gabriel, but you can already see Tubergen's going back to the drawing board. Maybe those welding jars are coming out and those Nature's Claims are coming in, but you can't ignore Stony Silence because, as you just saw, you can't beat it.
Yeah, I mean, he would have easily won that game in the absence of that card and could not play Magic while facing it down. So he's got to, whatever cards he has that can fight it, he's got to bring them in.
Peter goes back to the drawing board, and we'll let him do that while you watch this. We are back. Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan, and of course Nick Miller over in the sideboard doing your deck techs, picking your feature matches, doing your player spotlight here all weekend long. It looks like he's getting ready to film a deck tech right now. Is Nick with Todd Stevens with a little red get up here plus blue tie. I'm digging that.
Always looking good.
Of course. Looks like he's got some life water here. He's refreshed and ready to go. I'm sure we'll get a little Todd Stevens on camera here a little later today. Looks like he's got a brew that Nick Miller has deemed deck tech worthy. I'm hoping he's gone back to the Value Town life. It looks like he may have with a slight splash. So this could be an interesting tournament here for Stevens. Stevens last weekend played humans, which was very surprising. Todd Stevens not a humans player normally. So he's trying a little something out here. These two players are going to take a long look at their opening hands here. Pieter Tubergen, a very serious face. He's going to keep his. Gabriel Barrett's going to send his back. So for our humans player on the left, going to be taking a look at 6 cards here in just a moment. Tubergen, a player who has had some modest success here on the SCG Tour, and as you and I have done this job for a half-decade now, which is crazy to think about, we have seen some players grow over time. Ross Merriam, Andrew Jessup, Kevin Jones, the 3 that kind of jump to mind. And I think Jonathan Rossman has a very bright career ahead, and I think Pieter Tubergen could too. He's obviously become really well known for being an affinity player, and I'm curious to see what the trajectory of his career goes, because he definitely knows how to do this thing very well.
Yeah, I mean, definitely growing up, we've watched him on camera now for several years. His results have gotten better and better. You see number 23 in the player rankings. Saw on Twitter recently he's been taking his personal health more seriously and, just getting older.
That happens to everybody.
Happens.
One day at a time, just getting old. And Barrett will be taking a look at 6 cards here in just a moment. Do keep in mind that after this round, our players with 2 buys, they'll be jumping into the tournament, of course. We'll have a players to watch leaderboard after next round, too, to let you know who's here. A lot of great players here in the Baltimore Convention Center. Dylan Hand, Brad Nelson, Todd Stevens, Ross Merriam, Jonathan Rossum, Dylan Donegan. A lot of great SCG Tour players here this weekend. Should be a very competitive tournament. A little under 600 players this weekend at the Baltimore Convention Center. And I can't forget about who we watched in round number 1, Pro Tour Hall of Famer, Pro Tour 25th anniversary runner-up, of course, Ben Stark with an interesting Jeskai build. Perhaps Nick Miller gets him into the sideboard and explain what the heck is going on with no Snapcaster Mages in your deck, Ben. It's crazy.
I'm guessing, and you suggested it as well, trying to just beat humans.
Yeah.
And that card is not very effective there.
Looks like Gabriel Barrett is going to go back down a little bit lower to 5 cards, so things not shaking out his way.
3 main deck electrolyzes is a statement. I mean, and no Snapcasters. That's saying he's trying to beat low-to-the-ground creature decks.
Yeah.
Affinity, too. That's another place where you would rather have just a bunch of electrolyzes than any number of Snapcaster Mages.
Also true. Also true. Well, Gabriel's going to take a look at 5 cards here in just a moment. Hopefully the mulligans cease at some point for him. While he does that, we're going to talk about the StarCityGames.com newsletter, folks, where it's your source for Magic the Gathering news. We got highlights from some of our very best articles. I know that the last time we worked together, you demanded that we upgraded the graphic, and we didn't.
Upgrade is not the right word.
Okay,
it's just a little out of date.
We didn't update the graphic. So highlights from some of our best current articles. How about that?
SCG Tour dates and locations, possibility store and puzzle solutions, and you can find invitational qualifiers and game nights near you. Best of all, signing up is free over at go.starcgames.com/newsletter. More youthful Ross Merriam.
Ross's beard right now, fire. Yeah. It's a pretty good beard. Now, it doesn't touch Peter's beard, but few things do. We're underway. Well, this could get ugly. It's a turn 1 Hardened Scales. The Cavendish Soul's naming human there for Gabriel is going to put a Champion of the Parish on the battlefield. That Hardened Scales was cast off of a Pendle Haven, and now we'll get an idea of exactly how this deck works. Again, if you've not seen this deck in action, Hardened Scales into Steel Overseer, into some pretty ridiculous things potentially next turn.
And this is the type of deck that really exposes humans' inability to kill things. And when humans plays against other creature decks, typically it's either evasion matters or being bigger on the battlefield matters. And Hardened Scales can be bigger and faster on the battlefield and can come with enough flying where you can't really punk them out with something like a Manus Rider. And once you get into that spot, there really isn't a whole lot to do. The deck only has the one option.
For Gabriel Barrett, he's going to sacrifice a Windswept Teeth. We'll see what land he's going to search up here in just a moment. He's going to go with a Sacred Foundry. Happens to be a 1-of in his deck here this weekend. A little bit of red-white mana on the way. Makes you wonder if he does have a Stony Silence to slow things down here for Pieter Tubergen. It would be timely. If he did, he'll shuffle and present. We'll head back over to Barrett in just a moment to see exactly what his play is going to be, as I presume he's going to play something. It's a kite sail freebooter here for Barrett.
Problem here is that the issue is if Tubergen has creatures. And the freebooter doesn't do a whole lot there.
Dismembers the card that's selected. Ancient Stirrings, Arcbound Ravager, Blinkmoth Nexus, the cards left.
Yep. Freebooter can have spots of being good and being disruptive, but with the battlefield that Tubergen already has, it's now just creatures, and Freebooter doesn't do anything there.
Champion of the Parish is free to attack, and Tubergen says, I'm happy to take that because what I'm going to do next turn is a whole lot better than taking 2 points of damage. Welding Jar the draw, not all that impressive of a draw step.
Still cover against a Reclamation Sage. And if Tubergen can keep his creatures intact, I mean, that's the whole game.
Here's an Arcbound Ravager. That'll come in with 2 counters, of course, because of Hardened Scales. For those unfamiliar with Hardened Scales, we will take a look. This is a very, very powerful enchantment in this deck. And you would think that maybe it's only good on turn 1, like a card like Ether Vial, but that is not the case.
No, I mean, your best draws involve having this card, first, second, third turn. But once your battlefield is set up, even top decking this late, if you've got your Walking Ballistas, your Hangerback Walkers, your Steel Overseers can still be really good.
If one or more +1/+1 counters will be placed on a creature you control, that many +1/+1 counters are placed on it instead. And you might be thinking, well, that's not that big of an advantage, is it? Well,
yes.
When you watch this deck, yes, it is. Yes, it is. And Steel Overseer is not putting a +1/+1 counter on everything. It's putting 2 +1/+1 counters on things. The follow-up here for Gabriel Barrett is another copy of Champion of the Parish. That will grow the existing champion. Looks like Kite Sail Freebooter is going to come across for 1 in the air, and Pieter Tubergen doesn't seem to mind. We will get an activation of some sort of Nexus. It'll be the Inkmoth variety, and now here's a Steel Overseer activation. So creatures are going to grow.
And Tubergen here is testing the waters because if Barrett had a path there, you'd expect him to use it in that spot. If he's allowing Tubergen to untap, he's got nothing going on, and Tubergen can feel free to just run wild now.
And if I'm Pieter, I think a great place to start is at Ancient Stirrings. Going to take a look at the top 5 cards and take one with him here in just a moment. Looks like Animation Module might be among them once again. But the crazy thing about this deck is that I believe, if memory serves, we got 2, 4, so that'll be 6. So he could kill him within, in fact, this turn. If Pieter wants to go for it and is not scared of anything.
And again, very little reason for Tubergen to be scared because that was a spot for Barrett to play any interaction that he might have had available.
Yeah, and ideally he would have killed Steel Overseer a little while ago. So I think if I'm Pieter Tubergen, I can deduce that, okay, I don't think my opponent has anything, but you can also say I'm happy to further set up, so here's a Hangerback Walker.
If I'm Tubergen, I'm just shoving. Especially, you know that Barrett has Stony Silence in his deck. Not to say that Stony Silence is necessarily good enough here, but, what if he has a Chump Blocker and a Stony Silence next turn? There is an incentive, I think. As commanding as Tubergen's position is, I still think there's an incentive to go for it this turn.
Well, that Arcbound Ravager's coming into the red zone. Attacking for 4 currently. It can be a whole lot more than that. Trust me.
Although I guess if Barrett's play is a Stony Silence next turn, Tubergen can go, okay, activate my Steel Overseer in response, sacrifice the Hangerback Walker now with 1,000,000 counters on it in response, and still win the game that way.
If Barrett doesn't block this turn, Pieter can kill him.
Yeah.
With ease, by the way. With ease.
Because everything is +2. The Steel Overseer is +2, and the Hangerback Walker is... I can't count that high. It's a lot of pumps.
And every sacrifice is +2
right.
counters.
Yeah. So
Pieter Tubergen's going to sacrifice Hangerback Walker to Arcbound Ravager. Ravager's going to get 2 more counters now. It's going to turn into a 9/9. There are 4 Thopter tokens. You sacrifice each Thopter token. That's +2/+2 for each of them. Sapping all the Thopters, that's 17.
Yep.
Which is conveniently Gabriel Barrett's life total. Now, Pieter has other things he can sacrifice, like this useless Darksteel Citadel and this useless Welding Jar. But this is easy.
Barrett appears to be F6ing out of this game by the
laid back pose.
I think there was a laugh there as the full enormity of the situation revealed itself to him. And there you are.
Pieter Tubergen going to win this match over Gabriel Barrett 2-1. Hardened Scales Affinity going to take care of humans. It's 3 lopsided games there. 2 easy ones for Pieter Tubergen, an easy one for Gabriel Barrett, but